You're listening to the Biz Babes with Soul podcast with your host, Melody Spencer, a show where female entrepreneurs get radically honest about life and business. Today's episode is sponsored by Swiftly Social Digital Marketing. Swiftly Social helps people create a heart-centered digital marketing and Facebook ads strategy that gets you results. For a free video tutorial on how to grow your Facebook following by 10,000 or more, visit swiftlysocial.com.
Hey guys, welcome to the Biz Babes with Soul podcast. I'm your host, Melody Spencer, and I apparently can't talk today. It's a Monday, so if you guys are wondering, my brain is not apparently connected to my body yet. So this will be a fun show. I am excited to have my friend Thea Orozco here today. She is a business mindset coach, and she's here to talk all about her journey as a business owner and what it's like, being a mindset coach for her. So welcome, Thea.
Hi, Melody. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. So I'm a business mindset coach, and basically that means I help, introverts in particular, because I work mainly with introverts. And we do kind of like the background work that makes our business a little more fun and less of a struggle because, nowadays we have access to all the courses and all the information out there, but a lot of times as business owners, we can not actually implement what we learn, and a lot of that has to do with mindset. And for introverts in particular, we can just get in the process of just being deeply overwhelmed and in our heads a lot. And I'm an introvert myself, and so I know how that is, and I've had to go through a lot of different mindset work myself in order to really do anything even like this, like being on a podcast.
Yeah, I completely feel you on all of that. A lot of people are really surprised that I'm an introvert, but the skills that I have now with marketing and podcasting and videos, those are all learned skills. The me 10 to 12 years ago would have been like, oh, hell no. There is no way I barely wanted to call the pizza guy to order pizza. I hate speaking to people that much. It's not like that anymore because I've forced myself out of that. So that's interesting that you primarily work with introverts, because I feel like a lot of fellow introverts kind of use that as an excuse to not do things and to not show up or to not reach their potential.
Yeah, and that actually kind of used to be my case. I was just like you. I've never talking on the phone with anybody, even my friends actually, when I was in elementary school. And it's just been a long process. So even though I'm assuming still an introvert, even though you're doing the podcast, I'm still an introvert, even though I've become more confident and more comfortable in myself. I still am not a big, talker on the phone, but what I have learned is just more confidence in me, more understanding of my introversion so that I can do things like this, but then also feel okay with taking some downtime afterward.
Yeah, so I'm interested, just personally, have you taken the Myers-Briggs test?
Yes, I'm an INFJ.
That's what I am! I'm so excited when I meet other INFJs because I feel like I know them completely. So are you super organized?
No.
Really? I'm super organized, obsessively organized.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I don't. Yeah. So with the Myers-Briggs, I can equate myself with a lot of other INFJ stuff, but organized, not so much. I do really making lists.
Oh yeah,
that's my big organizational thing. But when it comes to my desk and stuff like that, that's not really.
Yeah, my husband is an INFP, and he said he's a therapist, and he said that when they took it in counseling school, that their professor was like, okay, this is how you can tell an INFJ versus an INFP. And he was like, what are you guys doing this weekend? And all the INFJs knew exactly what they were doing. The INFPs were like, I don't know, which is totally 100% true. Like, I have multiple calendars. I always am scheduling things.
Yeah.
My husband is like, oh, we have a calendar? What's that?
Yeah, well, in that sense, I am very organized. Like, I do have calendars. It really upsets me if, someone wants to do something at the last minute. I just I often just say no.
Yeah.
Sorry, I won't go at the last minute to whatever fun thing you say, even though it kind of seems fun. It emotionally disturbs me that you asked me half an hour beforehand.
Yeah, that annoys me too. I get that. So, as a mindset coach, what kind of tips do you have for introverts that want to kind of stop using that as a crutch and really make their business goals happen and be more confident?
There's a few things. One, as you say, stop using it as a crutch. So start understanding, what exactly is introversion and the difference between introversion and shyness, because there is a big difference. A lot of people think that introversion and shyness are the same thing, but shyness is more like you fear being judged, whereas introversion is an energy thing. So do you get your energy from being around other people or on your own? So how do you feel the most like yourself? So like me, I can do this podcast interview, but if I do this all day long, I'll just be super spaced out and probably just end up crying the rest of the day. So it really helps to understand, what your personality is, where you draw the line in terms of where your energy is going to fail. So can you do 3 phone calls? Like, if you're a coach, can you do 3 coaching phone calls in a day, or is it 2, or is it 1? And then really accept where you are. So I think a lot of the times, we can also just have a real drain in our energy just by not accepting ourselves and fighting against our inner way of being. So I think it starts with, self-acceptance, seeing that there's nothing wrong with being an introvert, because there's just so many different introverts out there who are very successful at what they're doing. I think, in terms of business, Marie Forleo is an introvert. Who else is an introvert? So,
I didn't know she was an introvert. That's really interesting.
Yeah, she did a interview with Susan Cain, who wrote the New York Times bestseller Quiet.
Yeah, that was a great book.
It is a really good book. And in the interview, Marie Forleo says that she's an introvert. And actually, even Susan Cain was like, what? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it really is all about how you get your energy. That's what I always try to explain to people, because they're like, there's no way you're an introvert. And I say, all right, well, I love working at home by myself all day. Most extroverts would just drive them up a wall. Yeah. I have habits every day that I have to do to keep my energy good. And one of those is I go to bed at 8 or 9 o'clock and I read for many hours. And I don't want anybody to bother me. That's just one of my introvert things. And I've been like that my whole life.
Yeah. So I think what's awesome there is that it sounds like you accept it and you're not like, oh, this is a defect that I need to spend a few hours in bed and that I enjoy it. But a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of my fellow introverts, there's kind of some shame involved, and shame does not help you have a good life. And shame is just emotionally taxing too. So I think it really starts with self-acceptance.
I agree with that completely, because, I think where I am now versus where I was, in college or high school, totally different, because I didn't know I was an introvert. I just knew I thought I was shy. And so that was kind of the personality trait that was put on me, oh, she's quiet, or she's shy. She's just the smart, shy girl. I hated that. And and then I don't have a loud voice. So I think I also used that as kind of a crutch. I was like, I'm just quiet, shy, meek, mild. And I let that kind of become me. when I don't think that was actually in me at all. That was just what society or my belief kind of put on me.
Yeah, it's what society and what you pick up from the people around you just is kind of everything. Like, I think of it as, everybody has their own reality. It's created by the lessons we've learned, as we are going up or, as an adult, and those lessons aren't necessarily true. So like you, I thought I was shy, and I was called shy a lot. I do remember that, when I was growing up, I met like a second cousin or someone like that. And he said, "Oh, she's pretty, but she's too shy." And I got super angry.
That's terrible. Oh.
Yeah, I was 12 years old, but fortunately I was aware enough to be like, that's messed up. So, we do get told, this stuff a lot, and it does affect the way, we see the world and the way we interact with it. So I think part of mindset is really understanding just how much of an effect that all those stories has on your reality and the way you see reality.
Yeah. So how did you get involved with what you do? Like, how did you decide, all right, I'm going to be a mindset coach?
It was a very big process. So it kind of started 5 years ago when I was on Twitter. I was promoting an Etsy store of mine, and I saw two people in the span of 1 week talk about how they felt that they were broken because they're introverts. And actually, it wasn't even that. It was they just felt broken. It was clear to me that they were actually introverts comparing themselves to extroverts. So one of them was talking about how she had gone to a parent-teacher conference, and she felt like everybody else just had such an easier time there than her, and what was wrong with her. And another person was talking about overthinking. I'm like, have you guys seen Susan Cain's TED Talk? And they hadn't. And then I'm like, okay, more people need to be told this. More introverts need to be told that they aren't broken. Because I had been there myself. I had been, in that spot of where I thought there was some shame around who I was. So I started a Facebook account for introverts. It kind of grew to 10,000 likes fairly quickly.
Wow.
And then I thought, okay, well, maybe there's something here. Maybe I can do something else that helps my fellow introverts even more and make some money at the same time. So I got a life coaching certificate, started doing that, but then realized that my business clients were a lot more willing to put in the work than kind of the other people I was working with. Plus, I had been really interested in business, and I, had been doing my Etsy store and a few other really side gigs for a while. So I kind of transitioned into more of the life coach for business people type of thing soon after that. So that's kind of where I got where I am. It was, a lot of different tweakings and pivots and stuff like that. And so nowadays when I'm thinking about pivoting or trying something new, I just try and remember, what's gotten me to the place where I am right now. And that is just kind of making decisions and experimenting. And I kind of feel like that's something that a lot of us introverts don't really like. We like to think our way to the end goal versus just trying things out.
Yeah, that's so true. But I'm guilty of overthinking and not doing anything. I call it overthinking paralysis. You're just I can't, because I don't know if you struggle with this too, but I have really high anxiety too. And it's just I overthink, and then my anxiety goes up, and then I'm like, I don't know, there's too many decisions.
Yeah.
And then I just don't do anything.
Yeah, totally. That happens to me a lot. So some of the things I've done around that is just realize that it's a problem, first of all, because it can feel just like normal, right? Like anxiety and being overwhelmed can feel just normal. So something that I've started doing was just realizing, okay, well, this is actually not actually serving me. So part of what I'm doing now for myself, part of my own mindset journey, is being okay with things not being perfect and being okay with making mistakes, so that, you know, I can actually learn from doing versus trying to learn from just thinking, which isn't necessarily as effective, because thinking will only get me so far, and then the rest of the way I really need to experience it.
Yeah, I agree with that, because that's one of the things I've been telling myself. I call it inspired action. Like, I just need to take inspired action instead of just sitting there going, well, I don't know, let me make another pro-con list and think about it some more and journal about it some more. Like, just do it. Sometimes, even if it's not perfect, at least you put it out there and see what happens.
Yeah, totally. So, like, I've been thinking I want to do a podcast for a while, and I was just thinking about it. I'm like, okay, wait, I need to take action here. So actually what I did was just last week is that I did like kind of a test run podcast to see if I actually did like it, because I realized that I was just trying to think my way into knowing whether, you know, this would be a good fit for my personality.
Yeah.
So it's totally okay to like take confident, inspired action, but it's also okay to just take like little baby steps and action that just kind of tests the waters too.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you it's fun doing a podcast. I love it, and mine was definitely an inspired action. It was a thing I thought of in the shower. I tried to talk myself out of it, and then I told some people about it, and they thought it was an awesome idea, and it just kind of grew from there.
Awesome.
So, you should totally do it. So what has been your biggest challenge as a business owner and as a coach?
There's like 1,000.
Well,
challenges.
You don't have to narrow it down just to one. If you have a few, that's fine.
Well, I think, you know, one of them we've discussed, like the overthinking. That's a big thing. Also, you know, making decisions, also part of overthinking. And also, you know, being okay with being visible. So that was a big journey for me, is just being visible and being okay with the idea that some people won't want to hear what I have to say. So like when I was maybe about 11, my best friend and I were hanging out, and she wanted to create a lemonade stand. And I hated this idea because it meant talking to strangers. And I just got in my head, like, what if the strangers didn't like it and they wanted their money back? And what if we were bothering them and all of that? So that was kind of like some of the mindset stories about business and about marketing that I learned at a young age and that I've had to unlearn over the years. So I think, you know, just mindset, being okay with putting my thoughts out into the world and being okay with not everybody liking me has been a big struggle of mine. And, you know, I've gone very, very far, and now I help other people get to, you know, my point, but I know that I have a lot further to go to in that area.
Do you consider yourself a people pleaser?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Until I get angry, and then I...
And then you want to be right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am. Yeah, that's something I'm trying to wean myself away from. Is I used to act like I did not have opinions because I wanted people to like me so much. I'd be like, I don't care, it doesn't matter. When really in my head I was thinking, I really want to go to this restaurant, but I didn't want to rock the boat.
Oh, yeah.
With my opinion. And maybe that's a common introvert thing. I don't know, but it felt like it was just me. That's why I asked.
Yeah, it's definitely not you. I don't think it's common. I don't think it's just introverts. I think extroverts probably have this too, because they're probably they're probably around more people too. So
yeah, that's true.
So I'm guessing it's not just an introvert thing, but yeah, I was a big people pleaser too. Like one birthday, everybody was asking me where did I want to go for dinner, and I said, "Oh, I don't care." And they were like, "Okay, well, let's go to an Argentinian meat house," and I'm like basically a vegetarian, and I was like, "Okay." So that's where we went. And then I just beat myself up about it for a while. So yeah, definitely. This has been something I've struggled with. I think I'm a lot better at it. Just being okay with asserting myself and being okay with the fact that I have opinions. But also something that's interesting is, have you heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, Melody?
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah, so I've actually heard somebody ask him, I'm a people pleaser, how can I change? And Gary Vaynerchuk has said, it's actually not something that you need to change. You just need to kind of manage it and understand it. So his whole thing is you give 51% and you take 49%. So that's kind of something I've been trying to do, is be like, okay, it's okay to give a little more than you take. Just make sure that you're honoring yourself too.
Yeah, that's really good. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you and wants to work with you, how can they find you online?
They can find me at introvertology.com, and I'm on a lot of the social networks. I kind of disappeared for a while, but I'm hoping to get back on the social media train. They can find me as Introvertology on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention or plug before we wrap up?
Nothing to plug, but if there are other introverts out there who are just feeling a little self-conscious, like they don't know how to really access their strengths, there's a lot of different books out there. Introvert Advantage is a great one. Introvert Power and Quiet. Those are 3 great books that people can look into.
Yeah, I've only read Quiet, so I want to read the other 2. That sounds good.
Yeah, they're really great. So like they have different personalities. Like Introvert Power is like kind of more in your face, and Introvert Advantage is like kind of quiet. So they're actually really good for kind of bringing different ideas of how to show up as an introvert in the world.
Yeah. Well, this has been so great. I love talking to other introverts because I think it's a thing that a lot of people don't talk about, because our society is very much an extroverted society, and I think a lot of people are actually introverts. They're just kind of hiding in plain sight. So
yeah, definitely. I think so too. I mean, because a lot of people, they're ashamed of being an introvert, so they pretend to be an extrovert, and that means that it's even harder to tell who's an introvert. So yeah, I think there's a lot of us out there. What is it, like 30 to 50% of the population is an introvert. So I think the more of us who can start talking about this and letting other people know that they're not alone, the better life will be for us introverts.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, thank you so much for being here. This has been so much fun.
And thank you for having me on, Melody.
Yeah, all right. Well, until next time, guys, have a great night. Thank you for joining me for the Biz Babes with Soul podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. To learn more about me, Melody Spencer, and the show, please visit swiftlysocial.com.